Hello, basketball fans. It's me, DC, here for Fantasy Basketball Analyzer to help you get ready for week 16 of the fantasy basketball season. We are almost to the All-Star break. We are almost to the real NBA trade deadline, which means you're probably approaching your fantasy trade deadline as well. Doesn't seem like this is going to be a big deadline deal type of thing. We will talk about a couple guys later just in case they pop up. We'll see. There's not as many sellers as there are, whether it's because of the play-in making things more competitive or just the structure of salary cap and people being excited for Wembanyama and some draft picks on there. There's just not as many teams like fully tanking. There's a lot of kind of middle of the pack teams that maybe aren't going to sell off. We'll see what Charlotte and stuff does. Anyway, we're going to break down the week 16 schedule and we'll talk about waivers at the end. Let's get into it. We start off by taking pace and defensive efficiency, put them together, get our own average. Defensive efficiency is from Cleaning the Glass. Great website. Always want to give them their credit. So up at the top, nothing's changed, right? We want to attack San Antonio, Detroit, Houston, Charlotte, Indiana, Utah. You know, the good offenses that play fast. Well, they're not good offenses. The bad defenses. Some have good offenses. I was looking at Utah. Utah has good offense. Indiana's got pretty good offense. Anyway, those are the teams you want to go after. They're great for your DFS matchups, day-to-day leagues. Like, you understand what's going on. Down at the bottom, Cleveland, Miami, Philly, Milwaukee, Brooklyn, Boston. Brooklyn's still hanging down there. They're really holding their own, which is interesting. That team's been a little bit of a roller coaster, but they're now looking pretty solid. Maybe what we expect to see from them like 2 or 3 years ago without all the other stuff going on there. We'll see if they can keep it up. We're going to take these numbers and apply them to the week 16 schedule. So in week 16, we have 2 teams that only have 2 games. Boston and Utah, totally useless in your weekly lock leagues. Otherwise, 16 teams play 4 games. So most teams play 4 games, which makes those 2 teams even worse. And then the 3-game teams are in the minority. So if you have a choice, you want to grab those 4-team players, specifically for weekly lock leagues. Because the way it works out, a lot of the 4-game teams, aren't great when we start looking at the streaming days. Some of the 3s are better, but we'll talk about that in a minute. If you're looking for easy matchups because you're playing your DFS lineups, take a look at Dallas. They get Detroit, the Pelicans, and Golden State Warriors. I also like Oklahoma City, Golden State, Houston, and then Houston again. I don't really factor in home court advantage when I'm looking at fantasy and stuff, but if that's of interest to you, the Timberwolves have 4 games this week. All 4 are at home. The Knicks as well. And the Knicks actually have a kind of interesting schedule beyond that. Heads up for next week, the Pelicans, gear I'm wearing, they've got only 2 games next week, so they're not going to be as useful, assuming everyone's healthy. It's great to see that Ingram came back, even if he's not quite looking like himself just yet. Want Zion to be back there. Want this team healthy come the playoffs because they are a lot of fun to watch when they're all out there, which they're never all out there at the same time, but one can hope, right? Let's go ahead and look at the back-to-backs. So there's not a ton of back-to-backs this week. New Orleans, who I just talked about, does have one. There's a couple of Saturday, Sunday back-to-backs for New Orleans or New York. Start of the week, Lakers are the only team starting with a back-to-back, and they have 3 games in 4 nights, which can be nice for your waiver pickups, although are they really going to push AD or something there? I'm not sure. Glad to see him back already, but I think they're probably going to ease him back in. I assume he's going to miss one of those. New Orleans, Ingram's probably going to miss one of those. New York, we're not too worried about it. Phoenix and Portland are going to be playing their guys. Washington's going to be playing their guys. Atlanta, Charlotte, these aren't really the concerned teams. I mean, Golden State's got a back-to-back in the middle of the week. Minnesota and Denver, travel games, both Western Conference. Probably going to see some guys rest there, but maybe not. You know, I wouldn't be shocked if someone rests the first leg at Minnesota and then they go in Denver, even though the Timberwolves seem to be finally finding their own. So keep an eye out on that. Otherwise, it's nice to see not too many back-to-backs. You won't expect anyone to rest, but you can't really pick up as much like that when you're trying to stream guys because you aren't guaranteed to get 2 games out of too much of them. Like I said, Lakers for the first half, New Orleans and New York for the second half of the week, if you want to go about like that. But otherwise, I would really look at our streaming schedule, which, you know, you can always come back to. You can watch the video again or click the link down below. If you got questions, comments, you can hit me up on Twitter or comments down there. But the link is down there. You can always go to the Google Sheet and check this out. Here's the streaming schedule. Let's break down what the week looks like before we get fully into it. Monday's 8, Tuesday's 5, Wednesday's 9, Thursday's 7, Friday's 8, Saturday's 9, Sunday is 6. Now, most places consider 8 or less a good streaming day because that is, but it's just over half the league. If you're considering that, that makes Wednesday and Saturday the only stayaways. None of the days have like 10 or 12 games, which would be the real concern. But since there's so many of 8s and stuff, if I want to focus on it, Tuesday and Sunday, 5 and 6 games, you're definitely going to play basically anyone you're able to pick up off of waivers. So I'm focusing on that. Thursday was 7. So you can go a lot of ways. That's why I was talking about the 4-game week. If you want to look at Washington or something, we're going to talk about with waivers. They've got 4 games. None are on the great streaming days, but they're not bad. If the highest are 9 and the other 2 are at 8, you're probably going to be able to work someone in there, but it's just not guaranteed. The upside, they got 4 games. If you make one move for the whole week and you get 4 games out of it, that's not so bad. Where I do really like it, though, is, say, Charlotte. Charlotte's my favorite schedule for the week. Probably should be wearing some Hornets gear, but I actually don't have any yet. It's one of the few teams I haven't got to yet. That's neither here nor there. They've got 4 games, 3 on the good streaming days. Milwaukee, Chicago, and Orlando. And then Friday, that Detroit game is only an 8-game day, and Detroit's obviously a good matchup. So Bucks, Chicago, Detroit, Orlando. You like most of those matchups. Milwaukee's the only schedule that you really don't like because they're a good team, but they do play fast enough. You can still get some numbers up there, even though they're playing whole. So that's my number 1 schedule. If I've got someone out there that I want to pick up, it's not a ton of Charlotte pieces. You're going to roll the dice on Mark Williams. He's a watch list guy for me, and we'll talk about that later. But you could take a look, see J.R. Smith out there for you. Might be. We've talked about them in other weeks. First year probably shouldn't be, but you never know how shallow your league is, and that could be the difference. Otherwise, tied for second best schedules, I like Denver. They've got the 3 good streaming days, and then Atlanta, slightly higher day, but that's still good. New Orleans and New York, same idea. 3 of the lowest volume days, so you can run them all. And then they've got a Saturday game. It's nicer that they've got the back-to-back to end the week. Actually, as I just say that, I've noticed that earlier when I talked about back-to-backs, I forgot to mention Denver. They've got the back-to-back there. Anyway, neither here nor there. But then to a lesser extent, Cleveland. They've got 3 games, all low streaming days, but they don't get that 4th game in there. So you're going to definitely use anyone you pick up from Cleveland, but you're not going to get that extra game out of there. I almost would be more interested when someone like Indiana here. I don't have the boxer on them, but Lakers, Sacramento, Cleveland, but they got 3 games in 4 nights. So you can condense them to the end of the week. The Lakers have the other side of that. They get Brooklyn, New York, Indiana to start the week, or Indiana to end the week. They've got those 3 games in 4 nights. You could go either way of that and combine it with some of the other people I talk about and get a really good schedule. I mean, if you go from the Lakers and get those first 3, and then move to either New Orleans and New York, you can tack 2 more on and create a 5-game week. And if you get 5 games out of basically nothing, if the player's not great, that still lets you add up a little volume. And minutes played is the most important stat in fantasy basketball. Let's talk about some guys you can look at that are available on the waiver wire. I'm going to start with a couple names that aren't really about the schedule. Usually I'm saying these guys pick up, work for the waiver. I think there's some interest there. Maybe aren't full season ads, but they're playing well. I want to bring these guys up. Daniel Gafford, 41% rostered. Kristaps Porzingis is hurt for Washington. Gafford's getting a couple more minutes. We've seen him just run up rebounds and blocks in the past in fantasy seasons. Last night he had a great game, so it's standing out right now. 21 and 12 with 5 blocks. I'm not expecting that every night, but 9 and 8 with 4 blocks the game before that against Houston. Can he get 3, 4, 5 blocks in a game? Sure. It's more so like 1 to 2 a game, but that still adds up a lot over the end of the week. Washington's got 4 games this week. None are on the good streaming day, but none of the non-streaming days are so bad this week that you don't think you could use him. I'd give Gafford a look if you're looking for a big man, get some rebounds and blocks, and his shooting percentage is not going to be terrible. Maybe his free throws aren't great, but he doesn't take that many of it. So you're not worried. You're just hoping for like double-double or near double-double. Get you a few blocks in category league, and that's pretty helpful. Next on my list is Precious Achiuwa. I wanted to say going to the other coast, but that's not true. He plays for Toronto. He just was playing in Portland last night and had a heck of a game. 27-13, 2 steals and a block with a 3-pointer. He's been playing well for a little while now for them. 17-11, 19-5. That's nothing to write home about. 12-11, 17-11. He's really helping the Raptors. He's 46% rostered, so he's available in about half of leagues. Toronto's got 4 games, only 1 on a good streaming day to end the week against Memphis, and then they only have 3 games next week. But I could see him being useful, and like we said, none of the non-streaming days are so bad this week. I think if you're looking for someone to pick up and maybe use a little bit longer term, I think he could keep helping you. This is kind of more in the, when we talk about picking up Kyle Anderson and stuff. I'm not saying, oh, just because these days are good, he can add a little to you, especially in category leagues that are going to help you. And he's not taking anything away from you, which is nice when it's the end of the bench. you're playing Jalen Green or something because you want points and threes. He's going to hurt you in field goal percentage. You're playing him as a core of your team. You don't want to pick up someone who's like that. And so these moves I think are nice because they don't hurt you. They just add. Now, if you want a more schedule specific move in your daily change leagues, let's talk about Chris Duarte. We've talked about other guards for Indiana since Halliburton's been out. Duarte's playing well, 34%. So you get him in 2/3 of leagues. 17-4-6, 16-2-5, 11-9-3. So over the last week, he's averaging 14 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, and he's getting like 2 steals and 2 3-pointers. That's great in category leagues, points leagues, anything. If that continues, you're going to love it. Indiana's got 3 games this week. Like I said, they're condensed to the end, and 2 of them are on the good streaming days. Duarte is available in 2/3 of the league. I don't think you need to jump on it right now. Make yourself a little sticky note, put it on your computer monitor or whatever. Try and jump on it for the end of the week. Hope he keeps this up. If you see something different tonight, he plays Memphis, or this afternoon, potentially on at the same time as you're watching this video, depending on when you click on it. If something changes, okay, pivot off of this. But I don't expect it will. He's playing well. He's in the starting lineup. I think he could have a good week for you. Just wait on it, scoop it up, and then just be happy in the second half of the week. Especially if you can pick up a Laker that had the back-to-back to start the week. Look at Rui or something like that, and then pivot to one of these other teams. Create your 5-game week and get that edge. If he's not out there or you don't want to be trying to do midweek moves, Pat Connaughton's been playing well. The Bucks are finally getting healthy, except for Bobby Portis, who's going to be out for a little bit here. So Connaughton was playing before, and despite the stars coming back, he's still got his role doesn't necessarily change. His minutes go up. They use him the same way. 34% rostered. Again, 2/3 of leagues, you can go get him. 14-8, 19-12, 6-2, 15-7, 10-8. You kind of know what you're getting. Again, a couple assists, might get some steals here. Last couple games, 3-2. I'm not counting on that. It's like a steal and a half a game is what I'm looking for. But you're definitely going to get 3-pointers. I'm a little more interested in a category league because you're going to get 3-pointers. But 14-8 with 3 steals and 4 3-pointers is also great in a points league. So I think he could work either way for you. The Bucks only have 3 games this week. 2 are on the good streaming days. They're all kind of in the center of the week. So it's not going to be able to be pivoted and add up like the other ones we were talking about. It's a little more of a set it and forget it. You pick him up, he gets Charlotte, the Clippers, and then unfortunately Miami. So it could be a little bit down game towards the end of the week. Maybe you do want to switch it off. I think he's a fine ad and he's available for most of you watching. I already talked about Daniel Gafford for Washington because Porzingis is out, but obviously they also just traded Rui. Oh, that ball almost got away from me. Denny Avdija is playing pretty well. It's nothing shocking, but he's starting now. He was coming off the bench, so his minutes are going up a little bit. 15-9, assists and 2 steals, 10-10, 15-10. You gotta go back to January 11th pre-trade, and you can see the 9 points, 20 rebound anomaly of a game. But he does a little of everything. I like him a lot for category leagues for that reason. His shooting can be a bit inconsistent. You can look right here at the graphic: 62%, 30%, 60%, nothing. That's rough. No points, 4 rebounds in 25 minutes. 54%, 33%, 20%, 50%, 33%, right? You don't know what you're going to get. It's not as high of a volume to hurt you, but you are going to kind of notice it. He's starting now, so his usage is ticking up a little bit. And with the role, maybe some comfort will come. I don't think this is going to be a season-changing ad. I don't think Rui's like that. I don't think Denny's like that. I like Denny a little more as a player. I think the Lakers might use Rui a little more, but he's more going to be a 3-point shot, spot up thing is how I imagine it's going to work there. Whereas Denny, I think, could get you some more rebounds while he gets the threes. See how this all works out. 29% rostered, so go get him out in 70% of leagues. Washington doesn't have the best schedule, but it's not a bad schedule this week. The names jumping out at me are the people who've been having good performances or moving into a new role. Like I said, you might want to watch, say, Drew Eubanks in Portland. Portland's without Nurk if it's going to continue on there. 14% rostered. He's out there for plenty. I don't think I'm jumping on that yet. Or I'm looking at Mark Williams for Charlotte. Charlotte's got a good schedule. We talked about that already. Is he popping right now? No, but there are rumors that they are trying to move Plumlee for a first-round pick. I don't know if they're going to get a first-round pick for Plumlee. Maybe they'll settle for 2 seconds. If he moves, I'm even more interested in Mark Williams. Take a look at some of those moves if you're looking for a big man. I mentioned this because I talked about a lot of guards besides Gafford. So you might be looking for a big to kind of fill in there, see what the schedule's like. Otherwise, if you've got anyone else you're looking at, hit me up down below in the comments or on Twitter. Happy to answer that, trade questions, anything. Like I said, trade season's upon us. Otherwise, you know what I want you to do? On the fantasy basketball court or in your life, go out and win your week. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far, please hit the like button and leave a comment down below. It helps me grow the channel. If you want more videos like this, hit subscribe or even the little bell will give you alerts. And I'll be back soon with another video for you.